So I guess when your daddy don't want you to be a hoe like him, he go with you to the OBGYN to make sure your hymen is still intact. And we all supposed to laugh and kiki and haha, I think this is okay. But T.I., expeditiously, I'm gonna need you to get this shit together. Cause this is not cute, funny. Ooh, kids. What's going on, you guys? Your girl Just Koi here, and welcome back to the corner. How are you feeling? I hope you're having a good day. Some of you kids voted on the Instagrams, and you wanted me to discuss this whole T.I. disgusting situation, and that's really what we're here to do. But before we get on into this video, please do not forget to subscribe. This cannot be your first time around the block. Like, I know you drove around a couple times, you couldn't find no parking, but just subscribe and you'll always have a guaranteed spot on the block. You feel what I'm saying? And when you subscribe, put on your notification bell so that you know when the kids are always gathering. And if you really like the whole vibe of the corner, thumb it up. So I want to say this was like really recent. I don't know when y'all gonna see this or when you're gonna view this, but this from today did not happen that long ago. And essentially, T.I. went on a podcast, I believe, I think it's called Ladies something or another, but I know Miguel's wife is one of the hosts of the show. He went on to start talking about his daughter, Dejah Harris. Dejah is recently a high school graduate, and she's at her first year at college. And, you know, as a woman that has gone through that whole process of moving away from home and being on your own and being in school, I don't know what parents think is going on these college campuses. I don't know who they think we popping in and out of rooms to have sex with, but it's really not. It's not that, and it's not deep enough to the point where T.I. had to go on to a national, which turned it into an international platform. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I say national to international, I mean, like, once it hits the airwaves, like, it can go anywhere. He came onto this platform, and he basically said how since his daughter has turned, I think, 15 or 16, he's been going with her to the OBGYN. Now, as a woman, as a young girl, as a daughter myself, would I have thought that it was supportive of my dad to come with me to my OBGYN appointments? Absolutely. However, I have to, and I think any woman in her right state of mind would draw the line at my father thinking that he had any right, gall, or wherewithal to ask about the business of my personal body. Like, being completely honest, I lost my virginity when I was 17 years old. The first time I went to the doctor, my mother went with me, and the doctor literally was like, do you want your mother in the room or not? Because at the end of the day, my sexuality, what I do with my body, is my business, and it's completely up to my discretion of who I do and do not share it with, parent or not. The fact that Dejah's whole entire privacy is violated by her father, who thinks it's a joke, or he thinks that it's a way for him to protect her. Like, T.I., you're full of shit. Like, that's why I said this might get awkward, because I know y'all saw that I did a reaction review video to him and Tiana Taylor of You Be There. But in the same motion and at the same time, like, I have to call shit when I see it, and it's like, T.I., this is so disgusting. Like, shout out to Justin J for even making a video about this, like, talking about, like, is something wrong with T.I., and I'm not gonna say something's wrong with him, but I do think that something is off. As he was talking in his interview, he went on to say, like, he asked the doctor for, you know, asking the doctor, like, can you just check her hymen? Can you just check her hymen? And saying, like, you know, the doctor explained to him, as any medical professional would, the doctor explained to him, like, you know, Mr. Harris, there are multiple ways that a hymen can get broken. And so I really just quickly wanted to butt in and mention that there was a portion of the videos that I watched as well from the audio clips of where, you know, the doctor told him, like, you know, I can't give you her results, like, without her permission. And T.I. was like, oh, well, Dejah, you know, handle that, like, you know what to do. And it's like, T.I., are you friggin' kidding me? Like, one minute she's not in control of her body, next minute you want her to sign legal documentation saying that you can have permission to know what is going on with her body is absolutely disgusting. Like, that just came to me. And like, you know, Mr. Harris, there are multiple ways that a hymen can get broken, and they have nothing to do with sex. That's a complete fact. And no, it's not as something as simple as to just tell you that the hymen was broken. It could be an accident. She could walk wrong, move wrong. Anything could happen to her that breaks her hymen. That doesn't mean that she's had sex. I don't really understand what the whole thing is about the hymen in the first place. Like, I want to share a little bit, right? When I lost my virginity, initially, my hymen wasn't even broken. It was pushed back. So it was pushed further into my vaginal canal. So when it actually did break, I had sex before that, and my hymen never broke. When I had sex again, and my hymen actually broke, I was confused because I'm like, wait a minute. Do I have a hymen? Because let's not forget, some women are born without hymens. So it's not a situation of where I should be condemned for when or where not my hymen broke. And my ultimate question, and like I keep coming back to, what is going to change if you find out that her hymen is broken? There's nothing you can do to put it back. You cannot punish this girl. If she has sex, she has sex. Like, I really think it's so hypocritical. Like, T.I., you sat there and there was a clip, and Justin J pointed this out in his video. T.I.'s son, King, who's 15 years old, alluded to the fact that he was having sex, or he said and confirmed that he was having sex, a 15-year-old boy. You forget, like, in order for a 15-year-old boy to have sex, more than not, he's having sex with somebody's 15-year-old daughter. So if you're so worried about your 18-year-old daughter, and you're not putting this same kind of emphasis and control and possession over your own son or your sons and their sexuality, like, it's very possessive. I also want to add here that, you know, regardless of anything else, aside from being concerned about her hymen, can we just please acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of different STDs and STIs that can be passed through, like oral, that can literally be passed from skin to skin contact, like hand to genitalia contact, that have nothing to do with sex. So can we just be concerned about the fact that if they are going to have sex, as is any adult, when you decide to have sex, is going to have and use protection? Like, aside from everything else, can we just at least hope and pray that she's using protection, that his son is using protection? Like, these diseases are passing around because there are kids that are not really thinking that that they're invincible. Like, they think that nothing can happen to them. They think it's not going to happen to them, that they're different, they're the exception. So they're not thinking that they're passing around seriously deadly diseases that, whether they show symptoms or not, have serious life-threatening consequences. Like, regardless of everything else, like, T.I., you have no control over her body. And if you're so concerned if she is having sex, at least at the end of the day, as her father, you should want to protect her life and her health, and be more concerned that she is having safe sex, because Lord knows from your repertoire, you have had affairs and you have done things in your own adult life that we can just hope and pray that you yourself use protection, that we can hope and pray that you're telling your sons to wrap it up. So before you sit here and want to know the results, serious conversation with your daughter about the diseases that are going around here. You worried about a friggin' hymen. What if he ain't big enough to break her hymen and she still, God forbid, gets something? What then? Worried about her hymen being broken? Ridiculous. It's very hypocritical. And T.I., for you to be so liberal, and for you to have all these different political views, and for you to want to support black women so much and all this other good stuff, you are contributing to the exact system that your political platform goes against, where you're trying to control and have control over a woman's body. I'm not a parent, so I can't sit here and say like what I would do if I was a mother, but as a woman, bro, my daughter has a respect to her own body, to her own privacy, just like I do, just like everyone does. She doesn't have to tell me anything that's going on with her. Now let me just interject here and say, before there's any misunderstandings, that as a woman, and as a woman that does not have any children, I cannot speak to what I would or would not do as a mother. But in this place in my life where I am right now, when I say that my daughter has right to her own privacy, I mean that, like, I want my daughter to have the relationship that my mother and I do. I felt comfortable with my mother enough, and I wasn't scared to tell her what was going on with me when I started to have sex and things I was confused about, because I was inexperienced, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had all these emotions all of a sudden that I couldn't make heads or tails of. So rather than I felt like I was condemned by my mother, granted she wasn't, you know, of course she wasn't celebrating that I had sex so soon, But at the same time, it was a situation of it's a part of life. It was going to happen. If she ever wanted grandchildren, then at some point in time, I was going to have sex. And whenever it happened, it was going to be a conversation where she said and she hoped that I use protection, which I did. There was a situation of, you know, that my mother and I had an understanding and we had a bond that I didn't feel as though I was pressured into telling her things. So it's also in this way, T.I., your daughter Dejah, if you trust her and you have a bond and a relationship with her where she feels like she can talk to you about things like that. Sorry, you guys, for the background noise. But if she feels like she can talk to you about things like that, when the time is right and it happens, she will tell you. Because what you're doing right now and what you don't understand is what you're doing is you're actually doing the reversal. She's not going to be the one that tells you that she's had sex. She's probably going to tell her mother first, because the relationship that you built with her surrounding her sexuality and her body is so toxic that there's literally no reason for her to be willing to tell you anything. I mean, like, there was an entire portion of that video, like I said, that you made her sign a waiver. Like, dude, that is not how you build a trusting relationship with your daughter if you want her to talk to you about things like that. Like, you want to know about her hymen, ask her. It's her hymen. And I do understand the want to know what's going on, because it's a concern about her health. There are a lot of STDs, STIs, a lot of people walking around here asymptomatic. They're not showing no symptoms. They're not burning. They're not itching. So I can completely understand. And college campuses can be havens for that. So are old people's homes. I'm just saying, look up the statistics about who's contracting STDs and STIs and spreading them. At this point, I feel like T.I. does what a lot of people do, is that they don't hear themselves talk. They think that they know what they're saying, so they just keep speaking. And like I said in my video, he has a very extensive vocabulary, but I feel like comprehension is not necessarily on the highest of the list, nor is cognition, because it doesn't make any sense for you to sit here and say one moment that you're so supportive of a woman being able to control her own body and having all this to say about Alabama passing that whole, you know, abortion illegal law and stuff like that. I'm not saying she grown because she's 18. I'm not saying she grown because she's in college. What I'm saying is, at the age of 18, per the United States government, she is completely autonomous of her body. If she does not have a disability, she doesn't have a mental disorder, like, nothing is impairing her, that she cannot make fully logical decisions for herself. So therefore, your involvement to this point, except for guidance and wisdom, is null and void. Have to wonder and ask, Tiny, where are you? Why is your husband thinking that this is okay? How do you as a mother and as a woman just idly sit by? Like, I hope, and I'm not saying I hope and pray, but I hope for sure that Tiny laid into him when she got home. Like, why would you do something like that to Dejah? Why would you get on a podcast that's going to be on the internet? Why would you sit there and say that? Like, I feel embarrassed for her. More, and not even embarrassed, infuriated, because it's like, yo, women can't do anything. We can't have possession of our own bodies. Our thoughts are wrong. We can't look a certain way. We got to behave a certain way. We got to act a certain way. We have no literal freedom. And what's worse is that in the Black community, it's so much more oppressive than anybody really wants to give credit to. Like, Black men, Black fathers, you can be protective and not oppressive at the same time. You don't have to sit here and think that you have a right to know what I do, when I do, what I do when I'm not around you. I am an adult. I can think for myself, and I feel like, and I said this in one of my classes the other day, like, there's like this generational gap of wisdom where older people forget that at one point in time, yes, you were that age, and yes, you were that stupid, but rather than to condemn and judge younger people, why not share your experiences? Why not be more transparent? Why not say, hey, look, I did that, you can do it, but I did it, and this is how it ended up for me. And not necessarily, I don't want you to go down the same road because I learned the hard way, but you have to make your own mistakes and your own decisions. But I'm just going to give you this information just in case you decide to do something. At least you're not doing it ignorantly. At least you're doing it and you know what possible consequences are. And then what pissed me off is he made a comment, and I think he said, they're no fun. Who wants to be with a virgin? Bruh. Of all the life lessons I've learned at 24 years old, the one thing I learned, and I wish I still could go back to even now, is not losing my virginity when I did. It's not about who wants me. Protecting your body and your virginity has nothing to do with what any guy wants to stick their penis in you. It's about me. I'm limiting my risk and exposure to STDs and STIs. I'm limiting my unnecessary need to tie and soul tie myself with people. I'm not putting myself in a position for unnecessary emotional stress that comes as a result of me sharing my body. I'm not having to put myself in a position of where my body could be violated. I'm putting myself in the position where somebody gets to know me for who I am from my mind and has nothing to do with my body. There's nothing wrong. Who wants a virgin? A lot of people want a virgin. I know a lot of women that want to still be virgins, that want to be able to go back in our minds and say, I'm glad that it happened, but if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. I would have waited. I would have waited till marriage. I would have waited till somebody valued me. I would have waited till somebody valued my body. I would have waited till I valued my body. I would have waited till I knew my own worth. I would have waited. If I knew then what I knew now, I would have waited. So you sitting here saying who wants a virgin, again, it's hypocritical. Why would you still check her hymen if nobody wants a virgin? Rather than teach her to have power and embody the empowerment of a goddess who knows her body and her sexuality and to be confident in that, you want her to be scared of sex, yet you out here having threesomes and foursums and fivesums and sixsums like it's the friggin' 12 days of Christmas. And I don't understand how he thought that that was okay to sit there and give that anecdote about what he does. Like, that's not something for you to put yourself in a position about. Like, granted, I get you were trying to be funny. I get you were trying to make a joke, but when I sat back and I listened to not one, not two, but 3 different YouTubers who took the audio clip and made their own commentary, when I sat and I thought about it, I said to myself, like, oh, he's serious. Like, this isn't a game. Like, he's dead serious. Like, he been going with his daughter to the OBGYN since she was 15. And I get, like, you know, you're supposed to take your child or your daughter to the doctor, but there's really no need to subject your child, your young adult daughter, to that kind of, not necessarily trauma, but yes, it is traumatic to have someone tell you to lay back, put your legs up, scoot all the way to the edge of this damn cold ass leather thing with this damn paper sheet under you, crinkling, making it uncomfortable, and you're never all the way down as far as you gotta go. You still gotta go further down. So then you get all the way to the edge, to the point where your butt is damn near hanging off the edge of this thing. They got your feet up in these damn stirrups, and the doctor tells you to just relax. They trying to talk to you while they putting this thing in you, and then they crank it open. I don't know what they're doing now, but that's what my doctor did. They crank it open just to open up the vaginal canal a little bit. They take these fucking long ass Q-tips and they swab inside your vagina and all this other good stuff, and then they take it out, and then usually 5-10 minutes you're done. Why would you want to put a 15-year-old through that? You're not a woman, T.I., so I don't expect you to understand, but that's like taking your 15-year-old son to go get his prostate checked. Why the fuck would you take him to go get that done? He's 15. Why would I take my daughter to continuously go get her hymen checked if I know she's not having sex? And as a man, I'ma just tell you right now, that is not your place. That is not your place. Like, you have no right. That was unbelievably disgusting, and it's inexcusable. And T.I., you owe your daughter an apology. The fact that you thought it would be okay to say that you violate your daughter's own personal privacy and you think it's funny. And those 2 women that was up there laughing, talk about, I want to say it was a nervous laugh, because they were like, oh, this is Jack, like somebody get Dejah, like somebody pray for Dejah, like Dejah's a prisoner. Exactly, because we joking, we laughing, but we saying the truth. Dejah is a prisoner. She away from the house. She can't even be herself. She can't even learn who she is. And I'm not saying that you should be out here fool online having sex with anybody. Your life is your life. Your decisions are your decisions. So are your mistakes to make and learn from. However, there's no control over what happens, and who she decides to share her body with is, again, none of your concern. And being completely honest, at this point in her life, I don't really see a reason why she would want to share anything with you. Like, as a daughter to a father that doesn't have the best of relationships with her own father, you need to be very careful how you step, because the last thing that you want, being completely honest, is your daughter to develop a certain level of resentment towards you because of this nonsense that you're doing that will take decades to fix. God grant you life to be able to fix it. But those are my thoughts, you guys, on the whole entire crazy situation. You guys voted. You said you wanted me to discuss this, and so and forth. The kids have been convened. At this point, the corner is dismissed. Let me know what you guys think of this video down below. How do you feel about T.I.'s comments about him going to the OBGYN with his daughter Dejah, about his comments that he said to the doctor, like, give me my results. I just want my results, asking the doctor if he could check her hymen. You think that this is an invasion of her privacy as a woman? Or do you feel like this is just an overly protective father that maybe crossed 1 or 2 boundaries and he has to grow from this? I think he has to grow from this, but right now, we ain't talking about growth, we talking about no. That's really it, you guys. Drop down in the comments. I love you guys so very much. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, you guys, deuces.